Welcome back, everyone, to the next episode of Data Analytics Chat, where we discuss the latest challenges, trends happening in the data and AI world. Today's topic is an interesting one. It affects everyone in the world. So we're going to look at the AI impact in clinical research. It's obviously, it's obviously can benefit everyone, which is obviously great. So this welcome to today's guests. I'd like to welcome Ben Gmeiner, who is the Director of Medical Data Strategy and Science at Novartis, a leading pharma company. So welcome, Ben.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, likewise. I'm interested in today's conversation.
Also very much looking forward.
Brilliant. Do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself?
Sure. Of course. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Gmeiner. I am a physicist by training, so I did my PhD in quantum optics at the Max Planck Institute. Then I got super curious about the brain, how it works. Hence, I joined the group of Adam Cohen at Harvard to do my postdoc in neuroscience. After that, I did some management consulting and then joined Novartis. Now it's about 5 years back. So I've been with Novartis for 5 years, always in clinical research in various functions and roles, local ones, global ones, but always clinical research. It's really great and exciting times there. I'm very much driven and focused to drive and advanced healthcare by leveraging AI, data science, and health data as such.
Brilliant. So what's interesting to know, what drove you to work in clinical research?
It is just a super exciting field right now because the health data is exploding, basically. Yeah. If you look at data, more than 30% of all data that exists, taking data banking, taking from cars and the other, is health data. Yet at the very same time, we only use 97% we do not use, so we use 3% of those health data to advance healthcare. This at least says the WHO. And so you see there's a lot of room to really drive forward and improve patients' lives. And this is just very inspiring to me. And if I can make some impact, then I want to be in healthcare.
Yeah. So there's massive room then to improve.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move to the first question then. So let's start by talking about the key opportunities AI is in unlocking clinical research. What do you see as the most transformative aspect of AI in this field?
Thanks for the question. It's certainly a good one. And it links to what I've said before, right? It's just AI is revolutionizing healthcare and clinical research in a way that it can cope and excel large amounts of data in a very smart and intelligent way. It can use those data to do better analytics, predictive modeling, and drive precision medicine as such. Yeah. And this is why it's so powerful. It can spot trends, it can spot patterns, new biomarkers, and also things that humans might miss in the first chance. So it can help us to advance the understanding of how diseases work, how treatments are going to work. And hence, it's just a fantastic time right now. And these are the largest opportunities I see, especially for using AI. So it will be certainly a game changer also in clinical research, or especially in clinical research if you look at clinical trials. Yeah. So AI can really boost this exercise and those data taking and bring it to the next level.
Brilliant. And also it's evolving fast. In your 5 years at Novartis, can you notice a massive change in the advancements in sort of technology, data?
Yes, certainly. There's a huge appetite. It has already started to influence our clinical trials in the trial design, how you select your patient population. It has a good impact on adaptive clinical trials so far. So where basically you do not from the beginning design the whole trial as such, but just in parts, let's say, so you can revise during the trial to see on whether it's going, let's say, the right direction. It needs some adaptation or not. And here AI is really supporting a lot. We are let's say, in the early times, and there are many pilots being run from all the companies, I assume, and it's really moving at a fast pace.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a lot. We speak to a lot of data leaders and data professionals. Actually, data's new, like data's been around, but it's still infant, isn't it? It's still a little baby, sort of thing.
Absolutely. As I said, early days. So right now, it is being used particularly at some use cases that are more or less the low-hanging fruit, but obviously it will have much more room if we use AI for the whole chain from design of a trial till over execution till analysis and generating new hypotheses out of it.
Okay, brilliant. So how has AI sort of changed the way clinical trials are like designed and conducted, or are we still in these like early stages?
We are in somewhere in between. So the return of investment of the AI initiatives is, I feel, paying back slowly, but it is. And such clinical trials are very complex and need a lot of things, and they are being planned and executed. One clinical trial can easily take 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. So to replace the whole thing with AI, I think is not a good start. So you really need to go piece by piece on it, right? Do little pilots to support this task of a clinical trial, to augment those parts of a clinical trial, and then going step by step forward instead of really trying to go to do everything at the same time, especially also because it just takes very long time, right? 5, 6 years. If we were to do one clinical trial, let's say completely AI assistant from the beginning to the end, we will have in 5, 6 years our learnings. And this would be very late. So we cannot iterate fast enough. So hence, I think it's good to really go on it step by step and do pilots.
Yeah. How is it changing the design then?
So one example of it is what you want to do in a clinical trial is usually compare the effectiveness or efficacy of a new medication and its safety versus standard of care, right? So that you can prove that the medicine is safe and effective. So what you traditionally do is you design your trial, right? You do define a so-called patient population. So these are the patients that should be enrolled into this trial. And when I'm saying you define them, you think, what are key exclusion and inclusion criteria that should define this patient population? So now, if you look at it from a statistical point of view, what you want to show is that between the two groups, so the new innovative medicine you want to test and the placebo or standard of care, that you see a difference. Yeah. So then naturally, the more, let's say, defined those patient cohorts are, the easier it is to measure a difference, if there is some. Yeah. So if you were to take 2,000 clones of Ben, yeah, which are all the same in their biology and whatnot, then the effects on Ben will be presumably the same. So you need less clones of Ben in order to have this trial running and measuring effect. And traditionally, we do this inclusion-exclusion criteria by literature, by experience from past trials, from competitors, from what the regulators want, but also often some gut feeling a little bit, yeah? And we end up in a situation often that we define the patient population so well that the people and patients, they don't exist anymore, yeah? So now the question is, does the patient for the trial really have to have the disease I want to treat for? Probably yes. Yeah. But does the patient need to be between 42 and 43.7 years old? Probably not. And here AI can help us with analyzing past and history data to have a good trade-off between the confinement of the patient population, yeah, so how precisely are they defined, and the overlap with the patient population. So namely, do the patient exists in real life. Yeah. And there is some sweet spot because you want, on the one hand, to have the trial to be recruited, so that you find the patients that you need for the trial. On the other hand, you want to have the patient cohort as defined as possible. So hence you need less patients in the trial as such, which means that it will be accelerated and faster in its execution.
Interesting. So it's a lot of work goes into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what data do you leverage for AI solutions in clinical research? Because obviously, there's a lot, I guess.
It is in terms of quantity, but also modality. Maybe first to clarify what is health data in general. So basically, health data is everything that tells you something about the health and disease of a person. So it can go from electronic health records, it can be some CT image, it can be some X-ray scan, it can be data from your Apple Watch, it can be data from insurance companies, claims data, so genomic data. So it's really a huge variety on data modalities that we have. And basically every single modality brings another angle on the story of a patient and the story of the disease, the story of a treatment. So hence all those data are relevant to our research. And we are using, depending on the project, then also different modalities at the same time. And so this is about the data, let's say, source and where it comes from. And then we have then access to clinical data from registries, from insurance companies, but also we have a huge treasure on clinical data in-house from past clinical trials that we also leverage a lot.
Yes, it's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's also very much needed because if you compare to let's say prediction of the rent of an apartment, right? What is important? Certainly the location, the size, maybe the age of the house, the neighborhood, and a few things, right? But you basically can count it with two hands, right? The variables that are important. But if I'm now asking about what influences the progression of a disease or that a person is getting a disease, it's much, much more than just 5 or 10 variables. And the fact that we are all different by biology is also then that if you want to do this exercise for then billions of people, it's obviously scaling the demand of health data that you need for research a lot.
Yeah, and I guess health data is obviously a lot more important and impactful, isn't it? Really. Obviously, I know data is important, but healthcare is obviously you're dealing with bodies, aren't you? So it's massive impact if it's not handled correctly.
Yes, that's certainly true. You need to be very careful how to handle data from various points of view. On the one hand, where do the data come from? Yeah, what is the context around the data? Has the data been taken for, let's say, billing purposes? So then the data might tell you a different story than if the data has been taken in the emergency room. Yeah. So this is one aspect to it. And the other, as we are dealing here with highly sensitive personal data, we really need to make sure that we are preserving data privacy and all laws and legislations which are there in place for a good reason, which makes it also a little complex. And then going back to where I started, basically having those different data modalities to bring them together is also challenge and exercise. Yeah, here speaking about interoperability, but it's so important because if you combine data sources and data modalities, it's more than 1 + 1 is not equals 2. It's way more, but obviously it has its challenges along with it.
Yeah, no, obviously the sensitivity is massive. Well, touching on what the biggest barriers then preventing AI from being adopted widely in like global health research?
So on a few we touched upon already. I think it's the data privacy concerns, regulatory restrictions, then also the fact that across the globe, those things are handled differently, right? Going from Germany to the EU to the US, yeah, we have sometimes the same laws, but always different interpretations of it, which it makes it challenging. Then it is much about quality of data. Data is really, if you take the data out of real world, you need to spend quite some energy to get it into good shape, if you can do it at all, due to missing variables and data, due to the, let's say, different context they have. You need to fuse them. So this is also challenging. Another point is that the data is often very siloed. So across the healthcare system, many, if not all, key stakeholders have their own data piece. Yeah. So we have some data, the insurance companies have some data, the physicians have some data, the hospitals. And to bring them together, a lot of infrastructure is needed to really do this and excel this. Yeah. But these are, I think, the main things that we work on, but they require some energy to be overcome. Yet it's doable, and we are doing it. I think we're on a very good path and need to go forward. If you then transfer it from clinical research into integration, which is ultimately what you want, right? I mean, you need to have your findings and your things, but in the end of the day, you want to have them applied within the routine care. And here are other challenges that come up, especially that it needs to fit into the clinical workflow, which is super important. And then again, we are talking about infrastructure challenges.
I guess I think we touched on this before. Like, there's so many different variables, isn't there, with healthcare? Like when I lived in the UK, I got like ankylosing spondylitis, and I was having to take an injection every 2 weeks. But then since I've moved to Spain in the heat, it's eased the pain, and then now I don't need to take it. Obviously, you can't use the same data in each location, can you? You've got different variables because
absolutely
different living standards, different ways. Obviously, heat, like it just shows that makes an impact. So I guess that he digs deeper into the health data, doesn't it?
That's a fantastic example, and glad to hear that your move to Spain was also in this regard successful. This is what I meant before, also with context a little bit, right? You really need to make sure you know in which context, in this case, also meaning in which location, the data has been taken. Yeah. Data can easily fool. You need to have really good and close look, and here it's important that you also have interdisciplinary teams that look at those data, because a data scientist on his own usually can only do a part of it. Yeah, you need then the clinicians, you need the experts who can tell you what the data actually means, where there might be some caveats in it. So absolutely.
Brilliant. Cool. And then some examples. So can you share some specific examples where AI has successfully accelerated like drug discovery process or improved the accuracy of clinical trials?
I think one very prominent example is during the COVID development, right? The repurposing efforts that companies underwent to get the right drug in the end and the right vaccines. This was heavily AI assisted and powered to have to screen the existing compounds for repurposing those effectively for a new virus, in this case, corona. Yeah. And in oncology, it's also AI has been used extensively to predict patient responses in immunotherapies. And from our experience, for example, we found a new biomarker for the use of AI, which are, as we speak, currently validating in a prospective clinical trial. We used historic data and, let's say, crunched them with AI. And then we found something that might be a good biomarker, a predicting factor. And because of this, we started an own clinical trial to validate this.
And I guess must be quite a special feeling when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't tell you how excited I am to see the results and wait for them.
Because I think that's, especially to speak to a lot of people, people want job. Obviously, now people jobs, and especially since the pandemic, I think people want that them impactful jobs and something where you're seeing your notes and you're creating a difference. So that's amazing. Isn't it?
Yeah, obviously that's fantastic, no doubt. And this, I think, going also back to your very first question, why I ended up in clinical research. With AI, you can do a lot, and with data science, and could have chosen to develop self-driving cars better. I could have chosen to do something else, but in the end, what we do is to advance people's lives and optimize them. So I think there's no better purpose than being in healthcare.
Definitely. And it's a driver to get you out of bed in the morning when you go through them tough days. Because you go.
Yeah.
So what challenges still exist in using AI to like fully harness like the power of big data for like personalized treatments? Because this obviously, like we touched on, it is sensitive, is obviously it's massively impactful, isn't it? If it's not handled correctly. So
Yeah.
what are the key challenges that are still existing to, I guess, adopt massive change?
So for the adoption, if we now move a little bit away from research more to the translation into the routine care, it is certainly the implementation into the clinical workflow. So look, if you have a good algorithm that can support physicians, for example, in deciding what is the best innovative treatment for a patient, then even if it's very good and you go to the physician and say, here, look, I do have this app. You just need to enter the patient's demographic details, some symptomatics, some previous treatments, and then it will give you a good recommendation. It won't work. It won't work. I think because of two main reasons. The first one is today, healthcare and also the times at the clinics, at the physicians, it's so busy, it's so crowded, right? Per patient, the physician has a couple of minutes time. And during the time, when did the physician last time really look into your eyes and listen to what you said? They don't have the time. They are constantly busy with taking notes, with reading notes, and it's because everything is getting so much focused on the whole documentation around it. The physician comes in, yeah, he writes down, yeah, then yeah, what are you, yeah, I see, yeah, that's it. If you now should have an additional app on top, yeah, re-enter the data, look at it, it's not going to work. So the systems need to be integrated very smoothly into the routine, yeah, so that within the system, it can drag out all the necessary input it needs and do a recommendation within the same software, not a second software, because the physician does not have the time to open up a second software. So this is number one. And number two is also a certain explainability to build trust on the algorithms. If I give you this and say, Ben, here, look, it's a fantastic tool. It will work. Promise you. Yeah. I have no clue how, but it will work. You won't use it. Yeah. At least not in the beginning. Having a certain explainability angle to it, yeah, using Shapley values or whatever, it will certainly also accelerate adoption of those tools into the workforce. But speaking about overcrowded systems, I think number one use case where AI will have a substantial impact on our healthcare system is exactly on those documentation tasks. Yeah. It will, first of all, not be the super fancy diagnosis tools or recommendations and all that. It will be things like speech to text, that the physician can talk to the patient again. Someone in the side is taking notes, structuring those notes, distilling them in the beginning when a physician is going to a new patient. It gives a 5-bullet summary of the last 3 visits. I think these are very, let's say, from technology point of view, simple, yet powerful and impactful solutions that will bring us way forward.
Yeah. No, I'd be, see, yeah. yeah, brilliant. To be honest, like and you want to keep improving efficiencies because, like you said, this doctors, everyone, and especially in healthcare, it's just so busy, isn't it? It's just
It's
if you can minimize everyone wants to save time, don't they? If you can save time, that's just going to create massive
yeah,
gains.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's get me wrong. It's not because the physicians do want to do this documentation. It's because they have to, right? They would love to spend more time talking to me, to you, to all their patients, because I think in addition, this is also what they are trained for. This is where they bring a massive value add. Right? It's just the way a patient tells her story to the physician, the time points where the patient is pausing. These are the little hints that enables physicians to do way better job in diagnosis as some rule-based systems.
Yeah, no, interesting. So cool. What about the regulatory environment in healthcare? How is this evolving, and how are companies navigating the challenges of ensuring AI-driven research that meets regulatory requirements?
This is a very interesting area, and as I said before, it's very important that there are suitable regulations. Talking here from things like data privacy, but also approvals, medical devices, and whatnot, and how to surveillance medical products over time. It's super important. And here, I feel the regulators, the same as we, are all in an exploration and learning phase. So I very much acknowledge and like that the regulatory bodies like the FDA, EMA, they are very open. They're very open-minded for new technologies. They see the value and they do support. Yet at the same time, obviously, as it's their job, they need to be very cautious, which I really sign off 100%. And the way it works is that we talk. We discuss, we see where we can bring new innovations to the market and ensure at the same time that it's the right way, it's a safe way. And this is really good. So it's happening a lot in a dialogue on a case-by-case basis. It would be way too early and yet I think impossible to have a regulation that spans every use case because they're so different. And hence it's really a lot about discussion and open conversations with all key stakeholders together.
Yeah, no, obviously, there's a lot, obviously, discuss, isn't it? There's a lot of healthcare data. It's so much to be discussed now. I guess it's going to be thing with data in it. It's ever evolving, and there's no end. There's no end, is there?
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
it's unfortunately for you, you got to keep learning. Obviously, keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely.
So then, how do companies ensure AI solutions integrate smoothly without disrupting the current setup? And actually causing change management, I think, is the biggest challenge for businesses,
yes.
communication.
Yes.
How do you, because you've got people that are risk takers, that'll be, I see the benefit in doing that. You've got other people that are actually, I don't know, especially in the healthcare sector, it's even more impactful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just how do you integrate smoothly without causing all this
I think it's important to do it step by step and with small projects, small pilots. As it is new to everybody, people need to learn how to deal with it. People need to learn what skills are required. They need to learn or see that they aren't frightened of it or anything like this. And I think the learning aspect is if you really start small, because then again you can also gain speed. Yeah, it's really try fast, fail fast, learn, adopt on a small level, because then it's also much more concrete what you have, what worked, what didn't work. You see the value of it, and you learn better what maybe was missing, being it in the team setup. Yeah. So one thing that is super important is having cross-functional team for all those initiatives. Yeah, that it is integrated the right way. And I think the integration comes step by step with small pilot things, use cases, and then scaling it up. Yeah, and it's different than going from the beginning, because it wouldn't work. Yeah, from beginning, completely top down. This is the new whatever. This is the new program. We're doing this, and then pushing it down won't work, because first of all, we do not know how this should be designed at all, because it's new. Yeah, and then the integration would fail miserably. So rather starting bottom up, yeah, with little, let's say, seeds, and then just growing.
Yeah, no, I think obviously when you start small, isn't it? If you've got massive projects you want to deliver, and people are going to get overwhelmed, aren't they? Because they're going to get lost. So I think if you've got small aspects, you grow, don't you? Just constantly grow, you gain more knowledge, and then you keep building on that. So I think that's best way.
Especially on the one hand. On the other hand, if you were to do it, let's say, massively from the beginning, we need to keep in mind that we're talking here about a huge industry, a huge, let's say, machinery within clinical research. If we were to stop now and replace it by something else or something modified, let's say, it might be that we do not have new medicines for the next 5 to 10 years, because then we need to first figure out how it's done the best way, and then we will stop. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so let's move to the final question then. So how will AI play a role in improving patient engagement and adherence through clinical trials?
It's a very important question. Why? About 25% of our clinical trials, and here I'm not talking only about Novartis trials, but all clinical trials, they fail because of recruitment. Yeah. Because first, to find the patient number that you need for this trial, but also that people and patients are dropping out of the trial due to adherence. And reasons for a patient dropping out of the trial is manifold. Sometimes it is because they have not enough information, because something, this turned out different than they expected, what I would have wished for. Some are moving, it's so various reasons. And having a better angle to it, better understanding to predict before actually the patients decide to drop off, have there a certain hint, is be super valuable, because then we can reach out to them and say, how can we help? What is the reason that you're considering not? Yeah, and it might be that they say, I'm moving to a different location. It's not a problem. Yeah, we will find a solution for it, and the patient can stay in the trial, which is also very important and beneficial to the patient. So these are things. It can be in a way of virtual chatbots. Yeah, so having direct response to questions. It can move clinical trials for the patient more into the patient centricity, right? Getting more tailored information to a patient would also be one dimension, because everybody is different. Everybody has different needs, wishes, is at a different stage. So really supporting here our patients would be hugely beneficial. Yeah, for us, for the trial, but also importantly for the patients.
Amazing. So lots to be done, and lots, and lots to help people, isn't it? And we want to. The more that can be done, the better it is for all.
Absolutely. No, there is a lot to be done, but might have sound here and there a little negative, but it's certainly not. There are quite some challenges on the way, but if it would be easy, it would have been done already, and everybody could do it. I think the challenges are there naturally. I do not see a single challenge that cannot be overcome, and just having the right people, the right mindset is key. And here I'm very luxury that I do have the right people surrounding me, which I'm extremely grateful for, and together we will hopefully generate the maximum impact we can.
Brilliant. No, look forward to hearing success stories from you. Brilliant. Well, it's been really interesting. You shared some great insights here, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure discussing with you, Ben. Again, it was great being in your podcast, and have a good one.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode.